I guess I'm a mom now.
Let's do some controversial AT opinions. Not all trail angels are actually trail angels. People are going to hate me right off the gate.
No, I actually don't like trail names.
I hate my trail name. I think it's cringe.
One guy came up to me and was like, "What's your trail name?" And I just said Taylor. And he thought I said trailer.
Oh, Taylor. They got in your head, huh?
I was just so fed up.
Thru hikers can be a little bit entitled to campsites specifically.
I've hiked here from Georgia and this guy still smells like shampoo. Like,
wow, I'm an asshole.
Nice to get it all off my chest.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Trail Tales. My name is Kyle O'Grady. I am a huge hiking nerd, and in every single episode of this podcast, I chat with other hiking nerds about their experiences on the trail. You know the drill, or maybe you don't. Maybe this is your first episode. If that's the case, I really appreciate it. And you picked a good one because, probably not because of me, but because of my amazing guest this week. Repeat guest, someone that I've had the privilege of becoming friends with over the years and even hiking with a little bit a couple years ago. And the Trail Days episodes continue. It's kind of early. I'm a little bit hungover, I'm not going to lie. You can blame Zach and Chance, mostly Chance, for that because they had a little get together last night. But it's all good. I got coffee. I'm waking up. And so thank you for tuning in. And I think we should just leave it there as far as the intro anyway. Welcome, Taylor.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming in so early. I know it's a crazy weekend for everybody, but especially you. You have the booth set up, and I'm sure people have been popping in to say hi to their favorite vlogger pretty much all day. I'm sure today will be the same, maybe even more.
Yeah, met a lot of people.
Yeah, maybe even more, although it's supposed to, I don't know, did you look at the weather? It's not looking great
I
today.
haven't checked.
Yeah.
But Trail Days is going to go on regardless.
That's true. I'm a little bit nervous about this meetup thing because, I mean, a couple different websites say a couple different things in terms of percent chance of rain at that time, but yeah, you know, by the time everybody hears this, it will all be in the past.
Yeah, and we're all hikers too, so we've all dealt with rain. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. And we all love to complain about rain, so here I am complaining about the rain for something that hasn't even happened yet. Yeah. And speaking of things that are going to be behind us by the time everybody hears this, you're pregnant right now, and I believe the baby is going to be due after this comes out, and so. I mean, I guess you could say congratulations before too, but
thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I guess I'm a mom now.
Yeah.
To future Taylor.
Yeah. I'm so excited for you and Chet. So
thank you.
You know, I just appreciate you coming in. We've done 3 episodes before? 4 even?
3 or 4.
3 or 4, yeah. But this is the first time. I mean, we've met in person a couple times, but this is the first time doing an episode in person.
That's true. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. It was yesterday when you did Backpacker Radio or Thursday. Yeah. Was that the first in-person podcast you had ever done?
Think so. I've done a couple like interviews on YouTube here and there, but like podcast. Yeah. Yeah, I think these are my first in-person ones.
Yeah.
It's cool.
I like it so much better. I mean, I think the audience probably likes it better too. Of course, it's just not always practical.
Yeah. I started watching the Trail Tales just on YouTube.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Because I used to watch it, like listen to it in my car, but now I'm at work and I have it on the screen up above. And
that's so crazy. You actually like watch and listen to the show still. Yeah. I appreciate that. I'm not going to lie. I'm not just trying to flatter you either. I actually do watch a lot of your videos too. Like I just the other day, I watched the one, your most recent one, I believe, when you went out camping.
Yeah.
And I've been to that. What is it there? Is it
the Lafayette campground?
I was gonna, yeah.
That's right in Franconia Notch.
Yeah, I haven't camped there, but like I've been through there and stuff because that's like a popular trailhead too. And so it was kind of cool to see that. I'm sorry you forgot your stove.
It's fine. I had chicken nuggets. It was perfect.
Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. When I was watching that, for me, so basically what happened is, you know, she just went on this short camping trip. It wasn't even really backpacking. You kind of just
I backpacked in like a couple 100 yards.
Yeah. To just like a car campground.
Yeah.
And Taylor forgot her stove, but if it were me, I would much rather have chicken nuggets than a dehydrated backpacker meal anyway. So hopefully it worked out for the best in regards to that. Yeah.
No, because I was vlogging and I think I said like, unfortunately I forgot my stove, and then I'm in my head I'm like, no, this is actually better.
It's way better.
Yeah, like I wish I did this on purpose.
I would have not even brought the stove to begin with for that hike.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I understand like the sentiment, I guess. But,
I wanted it to feel like a camping trip, but it worked out.
Yeah, it was a cool video. And how has Trail Days been so far? I know we're only halfway done, but
yeah. So I did the 14-hour drive from New Hampshire to Virginia. That was fine. We did 10 hours one day for the next. I got here Thursday afternoon. It was crazy. Set up my booth, did the Backpacker Radio podcast, went back and set up my booth like even more. Friday, I thought I got there early and I thought I was going to have time to set up because I don't have to set up my vendor spot until 10. But when I got there at 9, there was already a bunch of people, which really? I didn't expect. So yeah, I'm setting up, talking to people, and that just lasted all day until 6 o'clock.
Damn.
Yeah.
I can't believe you're even on here. Like, yep. I felt like by the end of yesterday, my social battery was just drained. I'm sure it's going to be the same today.
Yeah.
And so like, and I know it's a little bit different because you have your business there, and of course you're trying to sell things. But like talking to people all day, and then now you're here first thing in the morning.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
No, so. I'm more of a morning person now, so this works out. Okay, but good. Yesterday at 6, we put the walls up on the tent, and I started walking around. I wanted to see the vendors, like all the gear ones, but most of them were already gone.
I was gonna say, I thought they closed down the tents at like 4 or 5. I don't know. We left probably like 3:30, so we left a little bit before that. But
yeah, there are a couple people still there because I know like on my vendor contract or whatever, it was like everyone stays till 6, but usually people stay until like the sun goes down. And
wow,
yeah. So the contract is just stay open till 6, and then you can just decide what you do after that. So yeah, I walked around. I thought I was going to explore Trail Days a little more, but I was just out. My mom and I went back to the hotel and watched the Bruins and then fell asleep. Oh. I'm very sorry about that.
Yeah, you're one of the only people in this town that probably understands her. So just for some context, not that anybody gives a shit about the Bruins, especially in July when they hear this, but like today is May 18th, and last night, like, not even 12 hours ago, the Bruins lost Game 6 and they're out of the playoffs. I was like watching at Zach and Chance's. Chance was so nice. I was shitting on her earlier for making me shotgun that beer, but she her boyfriend's like a huge hockey fan, not a Bruins fan, but he gets it, And so she was like on the phone with him, like trying to figure out how to pull the game up on the iPad for me. Like she went above and beyond to make sure I could watch my team lose, and so I appreciate that, Chance.
It was a close one, right? I'm sorry.
It's okay. They didn't deserve it this year, to be honest. They didn't play that well. But.
No, I haven't watched a single game until the playoffs. So,
yeah. Anyways, people don't want to hear people don't care about hockey. So we're gonna get into some. I don't know. It's always a little murky defining exactly what this is, but I think I'm gonna frame it as like controversial Appalachian Trail opinions, maybe unpopular Appalachian Trail opinions. I thought you would be, excuse me. I thought you would be a good person for that. Obviously, because you've hiked the trail twice and you have such a big platform in this community. And so I do feel a little bad making Taylor do like controversial. I mean, they're probably not that bad, but like controversial things because like you're so wholesome and I'm not. So like I did feel a little bit bad about that, but you sounded down. So
yeah, no, this is my opportunity to just like say how I feel.
Yeah, because
I feel like on my channel I kind of hold back and I stay positive, but like. I'll let you know my opinions.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I appreciate that, Taylor. I think to start, though, we're like a little bit less than a year out from your last hike still. But I mean, it's been long enough now. I'm sure especially longer since our last conversation about it. I'm just curious, like, what day did we'll say the initial hike. What day did you finish then?
In 2023, I hiked until the last week of June.
Okay.
And I ended it in Rangeley, Maine.
Right. Okay. And then you went back.
Yeah.
But we'll say, I guess I don't know how you feel, but I guess if it were me, it would probably feel kind of like that. The end of like the bulk of like the initial hike in June. Mm-hmm. Anyways, almost a year out from that. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you've had a lot of time to reflect. I don't know, how do you feel about the experience? Have any of your thoughts changed from like when you initially got off trail? And I'm sure you don't remember exactly what we said in the last episode. I don't, but yeah, I don't know. How do you feel about the experience, almost a year out now?
I'm fine. Just like, I feel like I just after the hike ended in June, just kind of like, I don't know, all my through hikes, all 2 of them, they just kind of feel like dreams. Just like, I just kind of like escaped like the reality of life, like working 9 to 5. I go on trail, I do this through hike, and then I get just thrown right back into normal life again. So it just like, I don't know, just my mind just shifts like real quick. And then all of a sudden, like, I'm just so, I don't know, the through hike is just behind me, and I'm just kind of forget it happened.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so excited. I have like all these vlogs and videos because like, I don't know, it just feels like a whole nother life. Like I have 2 versions of myself.
It
and
does.
So like, I don't know, I don't deal with like the post-trail depression or any of that just because my life doesn't change before and after my hike. Like I think I've said this in the last one, I have the same like house, husband, job, like nothing changed.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people kind of uproot their whole lives. They quit their jobs, they move to do this
a little
through hike.
lost when they get back.
Yeah.
Quite common, which probably, leads to a lot of the post-trail depression, whatever you want to call it. So
yeah,
that does make sense. Like
for me, the transition is so easy. But obviously, I love through hiking. I would do it again, but I mean, circumstances have changed a little bit. But that 2023 hike, I did because I just wanted to do it again before I started a family. Like that was my whole thing. And so when it ended, I'm just like, all right, next stage of life. And it happened.
Yeah.
So
yeah, incredible, Taylor.
Yeah.
I mean, what a blessing it is that, that you have the opportunity to kind of just get right back in the swing of things post-trail like that. Because as you know, like it is kind of difficult for a lot of people. It wasn't too bad for me either. So like, I feel very blessed in regards to that as well. But especially like knowing you're literally going back, like you said, to the same house, same job, same husband, everything. That is kind of nice in a way to even like, financial, like knowing you have a stable job to go back to aside, which I think that's something that probably stresses a lot of people out, understandably so. Yeah. When they kind of, like you said, uproot their whole life. I don't know. I think that's cool. And I think that's a testament to just like how you've structured your life.
Yeah.
And, I really admire that. And it's really cool. I love your shop.
Thanks.
By the way, I'll be back this summer, hopefully. Whether or not you'll be there, we'll see. Obviously, given the circumstances, but and it's taken a while to kind of like build my life up because I work for myself, own my own gift shop. I do the YouTube channel. Like all of my income is just like self-employed. Yeah. So it's taken a while to get to this point, but just like the benefits of it, the freedom and everything, it's worked out so well. Yeah, well, that's why I admire it so much because, like, I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of everything, but I do remember, I probably said this on a previous episode, but I remember when we hiked in 2020 together for a few days, and I was, like, really picking your brain about the gift shop, and, like, because I thought it was so cool. I mean, at that point, you must have been, what, like 25-ish? This is about
Probably.
4 years ago.
Yeah.
Was my math right there? 29 minus 4. That's 25, right? Yeah. I have a minor in math, and I'm not even joking. But anyways,
math was my favorite in school too, and I blink
when you get on mic too. For me, anyways, I'll speak for myself. Simple things, or sometimes words. Like I'll go to like try to use a word, but then in the back of my head, I'm like, "Am I saying this or using this wrong?" And then I freeze. Anyways,
it happens.
But yeah, so I just remember like picking your brain about that, and I just thought that was so cool. Like how you at such a young age had like started, and I know like there's some history with the family and stuff too in your mom's shop and everything, but like how you were like running your own shop like that at such a young age. I just thought that was so cool, and how you were able to, quite intentionally, it sounds like, I would imagine at least, structure your life to be able to do these things that you want to do. I don't know. I have a lot of respect for that, and like it's super cool, Taylor. So
thanks.
Now let's take a pause for just a second here so I can show you some awesome new backpacking gear that I got from GarageGrownGear.com. That's right, Garage Grown Gear is the sponsor of this episode. They're an online store that focuses on cottage brands and ultralight backpacking gear. They're constantly getting new items, and so these are some of my top 5 favorite products from them at the moment. Let's start out with these right here. These are the Mayfly Nymph Camp Sandals, and they only weigh like 2 ounces for the pair, which is giving me a reason to finally start bringing camp shoes when I'm backpacking again, which, I mean, I'm ashamed, but no, I'm not ashamed. They're pretty awesome. Or how about this Toaks Titanium 750 milliliter pot? I've had the same MSR pot for like years, since I was in high school, and so I finally decided to save a little bit of weight by getting a new pot. This one comes in at 3 ounces, I believe, which is 1.2 ounces lighter than my old MSR one, so round of applause for saving weight. How about a big old DCF stuff sack from Bonfus? I mean, you could always use a few extra stuff sacks, right? And they literally weigh nothing. They're so light. I'd never even heard of Bonfus. I think I'm saying that right, until I saw them on Garage Ground Gear's website, which is one of the reasons why they're so cool, because they're always getting new and up-and-coming cottage companies and their products. They're just getting them out there so everybody can go discover them. Next, we have this super fluffy 20-degree quilt from Enlightened Equipment. This is the Enigma quilt, I believe, and it's actually a gift for my girlfriend. It's not mine. So, Leela, if you're watching this, surprise. And lastly, wait a minute, oh yeah, I'm wearing it right here. That's right, we have an Alpha Direct hoodie from Leave Outdoor Company. It's super, super lightweight, and it keeps you so warm. I actually just wore it on a canoe camping trip last weekend, and it was definitely, I feel I sounded disingenuous there. Genuinely, it was my favorite piece of gear that I carried on that trip. I'll have a link to all of these items in the description or the show notes, but even if these like specific products don't interest you, I guarantee that you're going to find some awesome cottage gear at garagegrowngear.com. So go check them out, and thank you so much to Garage Grown Gear for sponsoring this episode. Okay, let's get back to my chat with Taylor.
Like growing up, everyone's like, what do you want to do with your, like in high school? Like, what do you want to go to college for? What do you want to do? I always said just like, I want to be a mom. And I kind of wanted to structure my life to be flexible just so I can be a mom. I had no idea I would get into like the through hiking and backpacking. Yeah. It just so happened that it worked out that way.
It definitely worked out pretty well.
But yeah, I'm just doing exactly what I want to do.
Yeah. Well, good for you, Taylor. All right, let's do some unpopular, controversial AT opinions. So I'll go first. And so I guess you've listened and watched plenty of episodes, so you kind of understand, you know, especially with like the Baker ones, like we kind of just go back and forth with these and get each other's thoughts on them. So my first unpopular opinion, I got to be a little careful with this one. The phrasing sounds kind of bad, but like I think if I do a good job explaining it, I think most people might actually kind of see where I'm coming from. But the way I phrase this one is that not all trail angels are actually trail angels. And in an effort to explain what that means, like, I feel like the term trail angel has kind of just like broadened out to include people that aren't necessarily doing things just like purely to help hikers. I feel like some people that get referred to as trail angels are actually doing it to make money and to run a business. And to be clear, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I mean, I run a business, you run a business. That aspect isn't my issue. My issue is, in anything that they're doing isn't an issue too. Like, they're still providing like valuable services, and I'm always happy to pay for a ride into town, or of course to like stay somewhere and everything. It's just more of like, I feel like the word trail angel is supposed to mean like someone who's doing it for free, or like doing it purely to just help the hikers with no other motivation, I guess. But then, you know, people that are charging like money for rides and stuff, they still get like kind of lumped in as trail angels. And it's probably a little murky. I'm sure sometimes these people are doing stuff for free too. And again, there's nothing wrong with what they're doing, but just the term trail angel, I feel like has kind of morphed into a little bit more than what it was originally for. I don't know. Have you thought about this at all? I
haven't, because I don't know if I'm trying to think of like all my trail angel experiences, and I don't know if I've been charged. Like,
really?
Do people charge you for not the food that they're giving, but
to be honest with you, maybe I shouldn't have started with this one because people are going to hate me right off the gate.
No.
to be fair, my most recent like through hiking experience has been on the PCT.
Yeah.
And so maybe, especially given your response there, maybe this is more of a thing on the PCT because over there, I'm trying to think back to my AT hike. I definitely remember like maybe there being some paid shuttles sometimes, but we didn't really take them too much. On the PCT, there's definitely like a number of spots where you will have to pay people to take you into town basically because the hitching just isn't there. And so maybe that's a little bit more what I was thinking of here.
Yeah.
Maybe it's different over there.
I've seen like trail angels that go out there to like kind of advertise their hostel or their town or their gear shop or whatever. And I've gotten rides from people that like, I don't know if I was supposed to pay. Like I just found this number in Gut Hook and like they say they're a trail angel, but then there's like comments. It's like, you can donate. And sometimes there's like that gray area of like, does this cost money or does this not? Yeah. And like, if I give them money, is it going to be awkward? And so there's been a couple.
If you don't give them money, is it going to be awkward?
Yeah. Are they going to be like, wow, Taylor, the Nahamsha hiker, thinks she's better and
cheapskate hiker?
Yeah.
No.
So I don't know. I've gotten into those awkward situations a couple times.
Yeah. I mean, it happens for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, and if you're setting up food at a road crossing for free, but then you also do have a business like in town, like a hostel or something, and you're using that to like draw people in, that is definitely a bit of a gray area because you're giving stuff away for free at the road. Like that's trail magic. Like I think that is definitely in trail angel territory. I don't know. See, this is why it's a little controversial. I guess. I mean, it's not that controversial, but I really do think I'm kind of drawing on my PCT, which wasn't my intention, I think, clearly, when I wrote this one down. But the more I think about it, I'm just thinking back to times where, it wasn't just like a donation, like, oh, you should give a donation to this person. It was like, again, referring to Far Out comments, it was like, oh, this person charges X amount. And like when you text them, they're like, yeah, I charge this amount. And also to be fair to these people, I don't think there's really anybody going around being like, I'm a trail angel, and and then asking for money. So it's nothing against these people at all. I think it's maybe just a little bit murky sometimes the way that people use the word trail angel, but that's just me.
Yeah. And I know Fresh Ground, you're aware of him, right?
Yeah, I haven't met him, but
he does a good job at like protecting the trail angel like part of what he does. Because if anyone doesn't know, he just goes up and down the AT for a few months, helping Nobo AT hikers early in the season, and he makes these huge meals and everything. But he is so specific on it's trail magic. Like, I'm not going to tell you where I am. Like, I just want to help you, and it's not just food. I've literally seen him like help someone wash their feet, and like, but like, not physically, but he'll get a big bucket of like soapy water and like bring it to a hiker and say like, here, put your feet in here because like they smell. Or like I've seen him like give people like laundry detergent and like Ziploc bags and they can do trail laundry. And like it's unexpected trail magic. Yeah. And so he does a good job because he has a big social media following. And I see people give comments. It's like, oh, where are you going to be today? He goes, it's magic. Like, I don't want to tell you where I am because I just want hikers to show up and just get this trail magic. Yeah. And he runs the nonprofit, and he doesn't accept donations from the hikers, but the people who can't do the trail magic themselves can give Fresh Ground the money.
I didn't know that. That's really cool. Wow.
So he raises money from people who want to support the hikers, and then he uses that money to feed them.
Cool.
So
I did not know that. I mean, I knew, like I said, vaguely like who he was, and I know he travels around and stuff, but the financial thing. Yeah. So if anyone wants to do trail magic, but you can't because you live in Indiana, we met a lot of people from Indiana randomly this weekend.
Interesting.
I met more people from Indiana yesterday than I have in my entire life combined before. Yeah. Anyways, if you live somewhere, you can't do trail magic and you want to still help, then maybe check out Fresh Ground. And that's pretty cool. I know.
I just told someone his info. It was like Fresh Ground Leapfrog Cafe on Facebook. And then he's got all the info.
That's cool.
I wasn't expecting to bring him up, but I'll give him the plug.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, Taylor. Do you want to do an unpopular, controversial, whatever opinion?
Yeah. My first one is that I actually don't like trail names. And I feel like you might also be on board.
Yeah, I actually almost wrote this one down.
Yeah, I don't like giving trail names. I've never given someone a trail name.
Really?
I almost cringe when I call someone by their trail name.
I do too.
And like,
I feel
if you know someone's name before they get the trail name, and then you have to like switch and like stop calling them by their real name and like, I don't know, call them whatever.
No,
I can't
way.
think of a trail name right now, but I cringe.
Yeah, I do too. My listeners know this for sure. Like, because I think I went off about it in a video last year or something. Like, yeah, this is definitely an unpopular opinion.
Yeah, because people are so proud of their trail names, and I feel bad, but I don't know.
I think it's cringe, and I don't think either one of us is saying that like people shouldn't do them or like.
Yeah,
like I get it's like kind of fun and quirky. When I was like younger, I thought it was cooler. Like when I first got my trail name, I thought it was like so cool. But like now, yeah, it makes me cringe for sure. Especially off trail. Like even just walking around, like yesterday, people are giving their trail names when they meet you and stuff. And like, again, nothing against them, of course, but like, yeah, I cringe a little bit inside.
Yeah. And I feel like people call me Nahamsha. I always introduce myself as Taylor, but just because I have this like social media platform that's Taylor the Nahamsha Hiker, that's just how they refer to me as. But like no one gave me that name. Like people just started calling me that because that was my Instagram handle.
Yeah.
And I did that way before I even started backpacking. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be a different person. Like some people have like the trail version of themselves and like the home civilization version. I'm like, I'm just Taylor all around.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to change who I am, but I don't know. I'm excited for people with their trail names.
Of course.
Just not my thing.
Yeah. It's nice to talk to someone who feels this way, to be honest. And then there's the whole aspect of like calling, like you mentioned a second ago, like now you're interacting with them off trail. Not even, I don't mean like just in a town I mean like, you know, totally different circumstance. And it's like, do I call them their real name now? You have to like relearn their name almost.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny. I think over the years I've kind of, when I was on the AT, I was still like definitely full trail name. But
you don't even want to say your own trail name.
I hate my trail name, dude.
That just proves.
Yeah, it does. But then like on the PCT, I definitely like, for instance, Brandon, like we hiked a lot with, a good chunk of the PCT with, and like his trail name was Phoenix, but like I never called him Phoenix. He was always just Brandon to me.
Yeah.
And the big exception is Flossie for me, because it's so funny with him. We met on the AT, and so that, you know, we start calling each other trail names. And then, you know, about a year and a half later, he ends up moving in, you know, with me and some other roommates in Vermont, some non-hiking roommates, and like our whole friend group up there. But like, I called him Flossie. I'm the one that introduced him to everybody. And so everyone just calls him Flossie, like straight up. It's so funny. Like that's just his name in that friend group. And like no one even thinks twice about it.
Yeah.
So that's like the one exception for me where like the trail name, I'm never going to call him, like even just thinking about being like, hey, Mitchell, can you pass me? Like that just feels weird to me. But
I remember asking you once what his real name was.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, yeah, in that situation, Flossie does feel more normal.
I feel like Flossie's a pretty cool trail name too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, there's some pretty whack trail names out there. Like, mine included, like mine sucks. And then another thing too, I think even more than, I think the main reason why I'm so jaded when it comes to trail names is because my trail name story just sucks. And like on the AT and the PCT, I guess, you just get sick of telling the same story, if it's a bad story at least, over and over, like to the point where it became like a joke between me and Flossie. Like if someone would ask one of us what our trail name story was, the other person would kind of like smirk because they just know that, like, because Flossie felt the same way. He was like, I'm sick of telling the story. So it's kind of funny, I guess.
And like, I don't even have a story with Nahamsha because like, that's just the name of my gift shop. Like and people, if someone asked me in Georgia what my trail name was and I said Nahamsha, like they don't know what that is. I can be like, oh, it's New Hampshire with an accent. And then it sounds weird. And then one guy came up to me and was like, what's your trail name? And I just said Taylor. And he thought I said trailer. I don't know, had like a really heavy.
That's how trail names get born though.
Sometimes. Yeah. Like I don't know. Had a big backpack or I took a lot of stuff. I don't know. So I just went with it. And I'm like, there's this poor thru hiker, one guy that thinks my trail name is trailer. And I don't know.
That's funny.
I thought for a split second, like when I said bye to him, I was like, I hope this doesn't like stick.
All right. My next one. Okay, this doesn't happen that often, to be honest. But I feel like there's kind of a stereotype sometimes where thru hikers kind of will like try to like not steal, but like sometimes they do. Not very often, but they'll kind of be like they'll try to like swindle free stuff from like people. Maybe whether it be day hikers or section hikers. Have you experienced this at all or noticed this?
I don't think I have.
Really? I'm kind of surprised. I feel like there'll be some people watching and listening that have hiked with somebody or maybe themselves. And again, they're not like stealing or being like immoral about it, but they'll just kind of like brag a little bit about how like, oh, like, yeah, I convinced this day hiker to give me, free food, or like I talked to these people at the bar for an hour so that they would like buy my meal or whatever. And I don't know. I understand it's kind of fun and kind of funny sometimes, to be honest, but also just that I don't know how I feel about that sometimes when people do that. At least when people brag about it.
Yeah.
I don't know, which I guess you haven't experienced. I'm kind of surprised, to be honest.
I guess the first thing that comes to mind is the first day of my hike last year in Georgia. I get to camp at night and this hiker walks in and she's, you know how they have like all these like army training things going on in Georgia? Mm-hmm. I guess I had hiked past like dozens and dozens of these like army training soldiers. I don't know exactly what it was. And they were all so serious. They didn't talk. I just like stopped in my trail and they all walked in front of me. But this hiker that I saw at camp that night said she heckled them because she was out of water and was like, hey, you, give me your water bottle. And like, hey, you, can I have that? I'm thirsty. And like, she was bragging about how she got the soldiers to give her free water.
Oh,
because she,
I mean, that's pretty similar.
Yeah.
Maybe a little more upfront than a lot of people, but
yeah, she had just no shame. But she just had like this Aquafina water bottle and was like, yeah, he gave it to me. And I don't know.
There's plenty of water on the AT.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact circumstances, obviously, but
yeah.
And I don't know.
She was having a hard time.
Oh, geez, really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not trying to suggest that like if you're at a bar and you have like a super cool conversation with somebody and then they like buy you a beer or a meal, I'm not trying to suggest that there's anything wrong with that. Or even if you're talking to a section hiker and you guys really connect and then they, give you something as a result, like that's totally fine. I think it's more like when people, and again, this doesn't happen often. This is definitely not a majority of thru hikers, not even close, but like, I guess the only somewhat issue, I don't really care that much. I would never like call somebody out like in person, like, mind my own business or whatever. But I think it's when people are like intentionally doing it, like going into the conversation knowing like, okay, I'm going to try to like swindle, especially if it's not something they really need. If you're like desperate for water or something and you ask for a little bit of extra water, that that's different too, obviously. Yeah. I'm trying to cover all my bases here, but like it's just when you go into it like kind of intentionally, like, okay, I'm almost like kind of taking advantage of this person a little bit, and then again maybe like bragging about it afterwards a little bit. And it doesn't happen that often. Yeah. And like I've known people that do this sometimes, and like they're still good people and everything, so don't read into this too much, everybody listening and watching. Like I said, it's not that big a deal, but I don't know, I don't think I've ever really talked about this on the show, actually, and it just feels a little weird to me when people do that sometimes. But.
It's interesting. This isn't bad, but like I've gone into trail magic like at the end of the day and I'm like eating and I'll be talking to the other hikers and I'll be like, I really wish I had like a ride into town and like I really got to do laundry tonight. And
Yeah.
I'll say things hoping that the trail angel will be like, oh yeah, I'll drive you to town after this.
Yeah, I've definitely done that before too.
Yeah.
Which that's like, you know, it's a little different, but it's again, and I'm sure you weren't going around bragging about it, but like,
Yeah.
and that's a little, it is kind of similar. I'm trying to think if I have any stories of doing, I'm sure I do. I just might not be able to think of it, but I can, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, that's similar-ish, but it's not quite the same either.
Yeah. I'm always like nice about it.
Yeah, of course. In
happens.
that circumstance, it's something you like genuinely need to. I feel like when I wrote this point down, I feel like I was thinking more in terms of like people who would almost do it just for, maybe I'm just
like
hiking with the wrong people, but
yeah,
just doing
ill
it to do
intent.
it, kind of.
Yeah.
It's like almost like kind of fun for them, which and it's harmless. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not a big deal. But anyways, what's your next one, Taylor?
What do I want to talk about next? I was gonna say that the trail community, it's not always just like sunshine and rainbows. Like, I feel like when people think of the AT, like everyone loves each other, everyone's so helpful. And this really, like, at the end of my 2021 thru hike, I was just so fed up with the AT community, to be honest. And I think it was because I was ahead of the bubble, but all the other hikers around me were so competitive. Like, the other hikers just like, I don't know, I feel like there was between different trail families, like there was tension. It was like, is this
Family drama?
Well, like, I was never in a tramley. I hiked with the same guy the whole 2021 thru hike, but like, I don't know. I feel like there's a competition. It was like, oh, this tramley is going to catch us, or like this tramley is 2 days ahead. And like, I don't know, but I got to a point where I felt like the people like off the trail, like the trail angels and the people commenting on my videos, they were all nice, but I got to a point where I just didn't like anyone on the trail.
Wow.
So that I thought was a little controversial.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like I've been that guy a little bit. I'm probably not explicitly. Like, I don't think I've ever, like, maybe. I feel like I've fallen into that a little bit on my hikes. I'm not gonna lie. Like, and hopefully I didn't rub anyone the wrong way. Like, I don't think I was just like openly like bragging about how many miles I hiked, or like, oh, like we can't let these people catch us. But I've definitely got a little competitive with it. I'm not gonna lie. Actually,
I was competitive too. So like,
Right.
I put myself in that box, but it got a little much.
I mean, in hindsight, like sitting here now, like it does sound like silly to me, and I've thought about that a little bit. Like, I'm like, why? But like, I can think of a specific clip in one of my PCT videos where I actually recently went through and like rewatched all those videos a couple weeks ago, and like this one clip, I don't remember what video, somewhere in like kind of the middle of the series, we were in Northern California, and we had recently just run into a bubble of hikers. Like, it had been kind of quiet, and then just in a matter of days, all of a sudden there's a huge bubble of hikers around us, and the campsites were just getting packed out every night. And I didn't love that, but you know, it's no one's fault specifically, and so I was never like mad at anyone specifically. But there's just this one clip, and I can't remember what video, maybe like around 10, somewhere in there. For those that want to go back, where I just made a comment about how like, oh, like, I don't know, these people must be like hiking slow, or I don't know, we're catching so many people, and like I was watching that back. And like, I know where my head was at in the moment, this kind of competitive mindset, which is kind of silly, but like looking back on it, I cringed a little bit. I'm like, oh man, I look like a douchebag in that clip. I'm not going to lie.
I still think about something I said in one of my 2021 videos about how I was at Newfound Gap, and there was a day hiker who had just got out of their car. They just wanted to hike a little bit of the trail. And I passed him on trail. I said, hey, how's it going? And he was a couple 100 yards away from the parking lot. He goes, it's like, it's tough, but I'm alive. Like, and he was struggling. Like, he probably never goes on hikes, and he just hiked in a little bit, and it was awesome that he got out for a hike. But in my video, I was like, this guy said he was like, tired, and he's been hiking for less than a mile and I've been out here for 21 days and I'm feeling fine. And like, I still cringe saying that in a video.
And it's like, I'm sure you like understand like kind of where your head was at the time, obviously. And like, and so like, I can understand how that, because you also got to remember, it's like, you're all in on this shit for the time that you're out there. Right.
Yeah.
And so like, it's easy to maybe take it a little more seriously than you should sometimes.
Yeah.
To be honest. And so like, I get why that comes out. But yeah, that's definitely a little unpopular. And I also feel like something you mentioned, Taylor, I haven't experienced this because I've been so late on all 2 of my thru hikes. But I imagine starting early and being in that like early bubble of people that are probably moving pretty quick.
Yeah.
I imagine it's probably even more so than the competitiveness, I guess you could say, than my hikes where we were at the tail end of the bubble on both of those hikes. So.
Yeah. Yeah. When I got to Maine in 2021, I was the 20th thru hiker to reach Katahdin. So that's how that's how ahead of the bubble I was.
You only came in 20th? No,
I know. I actually felt I was competitive. So like I'm not saying I wasn't. Like I was one of the competitive hikers that probably wasn't like very not that I wasn't nice,
but I know what you mean.
Yeah. And the whole reason when I started to think that like I'm done with this AT community, I just want to like finish and go home, is that I saw this guy in a tramway that we've been hiking, like leapfrogging basically all of New England. And I knew I was a couple days ahead of this tramway, and he came out into the parking lot, and instead of saying like, oh, like, hey, how's it been? Haven't seen you in a couple weeks. It was just like, I thought you'd be further ahead than this. And I was like, I felt like no one was friends at that point. And it was like, he doesn't care like how I've been or like how the hike has. All he cared about in the moment was my pace.
Yeah.
And so that just sat so wrong with me. And then for the rest of the hike, I wanted to stay ahead of that tramway because I didn't want to run into them again. So I think that just, I don't know, put a sour.
It makes sense.
It was tough.
Yeah. I met a guy on the AT who I guess he had a late start. I think he was only doing half the trail or something like that. I don't even remember his name at this point. Kind of weird dude, but we got along sometimes. We hung out a little bit, but he would always talk about like how fast he was hiking and like, oh yeah, like I'm, after this resupply, I'm really gonna start to like pick up the pace. And he would just say that over and over and over, and then we'd inevitably see him in the next town. And we were moving pretty good too, but I think he thought that he was hiking faster than he actually was. And it was just kind of funny because it almost became a joke for like a little bit. We'd be like, oh yeah, it's so-and-so, like they're hiking so fast, but I'm sure we'll see him at the hostel tonight or something like that. And to be fair, he eventually did pull ahead of us, like in Virginia, I think it was. I think the last time I saw him was like right before the Shenandoah, something like that. So he did end up finishing faster than I did, but like similar thing. And I didn't really care because that guy was kind of weird, honestly. I was like, I didn't really take anything he said very seriously. But
yeah, I got so competitive that at the end of the day, I was like on Instagram and I'd see a picture from someone in a tramway and try to tell where they were. And then I would like go and far out and like try to see how many miles away they were. Like I was in such a bad, like.
They got in your head, huh?
Maine, both of my thru hikes have just been just like such a mental mind game. And it just, no.
Damn.
2021, it was like the competitiveness. And then in 2023, it was the rain and just like, I love Maine, but
Maine's tough.
Hiking in there is like, it's tough.
Talking to Maddie from Beer and Beautiful Places, we did our episode yesterday. And she said that Maine was the hardest state for her too. It was the hardest state for me mentally, physically, like something to be said about that. Like definitely
emotionally, because you're almost done. Like it's crazy.
Okay. This next one, honestly, this one is kind of similar to my last one, but I wrote this controversial opinion, which actually I didn't do a very good job. This one's probably not controversial, the opinion anyways, but I just wrote that thru hikers, a very small minority, can be a little bit entitled sometimes. Have you ever noticed that?
Oh yeah.
Like, entitled. And honestly, again, I'm not going to lie. I feel like I've had entitled moments out there. Like I'm really not going to lie. There's a story that comes to mind I don't want to share on the episode, to be honest. For my AT through hike, I can tell you it's not that. I got in a little verbal spat with a lady on top of Mount MISCELLANEOUS on my through hike, which she was kind of being a jerk too, but I also was definitely being a bit of a jerk. Anyways, I'll leave it there. But yeah, I mean, through hikers can be a little bit entitled sometimes, maybe over other hikers. I think the biggest thing for me, I'll speak for myself. Like, I feel like sometimes I feel a undeserved sense of entitlement to campsites specifically. Like, oh, like if there's like a group of people that aren't through hikers there, and again, I would never like go up to them and be like, yo, get the fuck out. Like, I'm not gonna do that, obviously, but like in the back of your mind a little bit, or maybe you complain to your friends in quiet, you're like, oh, like fucking, they got the best spots or whatever.
No, I feel that, because sometimes like you're like, oh, I've hiked here from Georgia and this guy still smells like shampoo. Like, like it's natural to have those feelings.
Yeah. And it's one thing if you're just kind of goofing on people. Like, I'm not going to lie, it probably comes out a little bit sometimes in the podcast, but definitely more just in regular on-camera stuff. Like, we'll kind of like just like goof on people in quiet, like, oh, like that guy, that day hiker or whatever. Like, but that was more, I think, just from like a humorous place. I just kind of like to give people, not to their face, but like make fun of people. Wow, I'm an asshole. No. Yeah, but the entitlement thing, I'm trying to think of like some other good examples. This gets brought up a decent amount, and so I don't think I'm sharing anything particularly revolutionary here, but like maybe even in town too, sometimes people feel entitled. Even going back to my first point, or my second point rather, just like trying to swindle things from people and feeling entitled in that way. I don't know. Can you think of any? I'm drawing a blank, to be honest. Like, any other ways that people feel entitled on trail? Personally,
I felt entitled once. This comes to mind in Virginia. This hiker invited like all these family and friends to this hostel, and like it was a big. They all wanted to meet her, and like I don't know, hang out with her for the weekend. And the hostel was completely booked up from like these hikers and like her family and friends. And I kind of felt like a little sense of entitlement. Like,
I'm not going to lie, I would feel the exact same way in that circumstance. I'm not going to lie.
I'm through hiking. I want to stay at this hiker hostel, but like there's parents there, there's friends, like there's people there that aren't hikers. And like, I just want to take a shower. And I remember spending like all day on the phone, like researching shuttle drivers and hotels, and like, because this was a town with one hostel. So I was a little grumpy.
I feel like I can even be entitled over other hikers. This actually goes back a little bit to the competitiveness thing. Like, I can even be a little entitled over other through hikers sometimes too. Like, honestly, the same example I just gave, but like in terms of like campsites, if like, and this is the stuff I probably wouldn't even say out loud that much, maybe even to my friends, but it runs through your head every now and again. If you're in a bad mood, if like someone hasn't hiked as many miles as you and then they get to camp before you because of that, and then there's not much space left or something like that.
Yeah.
Then, you know, in the moment, I would never look back on it and still feel entitled, but just in the moment when you first walk up, you can just be like, I hiked further than that person. Why are they in this deep? But
now
like,
you set up your
silly,
tent on like,
on a slant.
On a slant. Yeah. I've experienced that. Yeah. Like, fine, I'll just go sleep in this little corner by the tree and you enjoy that flat ground over there.
Yeah.
But
this is almost like some trail confessions.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, it's nice to get it all off my chest. No.
Yeah, definitely. I remember going back to, I mentioned a few minutes ago, that clip in one of my videos that made me cringe, how I was acting like kind of entitled there, to be honest. And I don't remember exactly what I said, but it was something about how like, oh, we've been catching and passing so many people and like the campsites are so crowded. And another reason why I'm kind of embarrassed about that is because, you wouldn't know it based on the video, but in hindsight, like we definitely were catching and passing people, but like a lot of the people that were crowding out the campsites in that stretch of trail that I was complaining about were doing the same miles as us. And like, I think I realized that after a few days, I'm like, these people they're doing the same. It's not like we are passing some people, but a lot of people are keeping pace with us. And I'm sure we got passed by some people for sure in that section too. So I'm just like, man, what an entitled. If someone that was in that section on trail sees that, they might especially realize how much of a jerk I was being. But like, I don't know.
Yeah. Or if you hike all day, you get to a campsite and then there's like a camp that shows up with like dozens of kids.
Like Boy Scouts or something.
Yeah.
I love goofing on the Boy Scout troops on trail.
And then they're like, it's hiker midnight for you because you've just hiked all day and they're fresh and they probably hiked like 1 mile in and they just want to talk and like play all night. Mm-hmm. That's happened a couple times.
Yeah. What's your last, I believe, controversial, unpopular opinion, Taylor? My unpopular opinion is I don't like, everyone says this, like stop and smell the roses, like take in the through hike, like take long breaks, like hang out at the views. But my idea of a through hike is just like going for it. Yeah.
Like I pass up so many views and like, I don't know. I sometimes have more fun just sending it and getting as many miles in as I can. And then if I sit at a view and have a lunch and just like stop and smell the roses.
Yeah.
So this was popular in my comments. I think mostly my 21 hike that I hike too fast, but everyone has their own style of through hiking.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to put that across in my videos as much as I can. But like some people's style of through hiking is to just be out there for 6-7 months and do all the things. My idea of through hiking is just like, how fast can I do this?
Yeah.
And that's fun for me.
Yeah, exactly. It is fun and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I agree with this 100%. Although I did not do either one of my hikes quite as fast as you did. It's very impressive. Get out of your hair. But no, I feel this one. This is definitely controversial for sure, as you noted in your comments, and like you see it all the time. You know, in online discussions, like the stop and that's exactly what they always say. Like, stop and smell the roses. And
I was gonna say, I think I posted a picture of me on Instagram or something. I'm walking and I found this whole like garden of roses and I stuck my face in there and took a selfie and posted it on Instagram. I'm like, look guys,
I am smelling the roses.
I hiked 25 miles today, but look at all the roses I smell. And I was in my sassy part of my hike.
Stick it to them.
Yeah.
I agree with this one. Like I said, that is kind of a similar style to me too. And what I don't think people understand is that like, well, that can still be enjoyable and fulfilling for a lot of people. I think some of these people that say this, they just can't imagine having fun in that circumstance or feeling fulfilled if they hiked like that. And so they just can't imagine why anyone would enjoy it.
Yeah.
And the other thing I was going to say is that you can still experience like so much cool stuff. You're still seeing a lot of the same views. Maybe you're not going off trail as much to see them, but like you're still going to see the same views. You might just not stop at quite as many. Or for me personally, I would kind of rush a little bit during the day. I'm not going to lie, like hike pretty quick and maybe pass up some cool spots and not stay there as long as other people. But then at the end of the day, I was always chilling. And I felt like that, at camp, especially when my friends were there, that's when I would really kind of, deep breath, relax, and kind of soak in the scenery around me. And so you can still get that while hiking fast too. And I think a lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah. And there's been times where I have like taken it slow and those moments are just like kind of extra special, I guess.
I agree with that 100%.
I remember right after Irwin, Tennessee, I think there was this place called the Beauty Spot and it was just like a grassy field or something. And I remember just laying there for an hour, like eating lunch or eating snacks and drinking my water and just taking it all in. And I still think about that. And if I did that every day, maybe it wouldn't have been as special. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know, like I do the big miles, but I know I have these special moments.
Yeah.
It makes them even more special.
Yeah. I've definitely had days like that too on both my through hikes where, on the PCT, it happened a couple times where we would end up doing lower mileage just purely because of the way that the water carries worked. So you almost get forced into it. And then it turns out great. It's almost like a bit of a recovery day, doing a shorter day, a less aggressive day. So like, yeah, there's definitely something to be said about that for sure. When you do finally slow down a little bit, it can hit a little better. Definitely.
And I absolutely love the 4-state challenge. on the AT.
That's badass. I didn't do that
like
shit.
I hiked 45 miles in I don't know 16 hours, I think. And it was like fun. Like I rewatched that vlog from time to time and I'm like, that was such a cool day. And like just the sense of like, I'm so proud of myself for doing that. It's a cool feeling. Whereas if I hiked like, I don't know, 8 miles that day, I'd be like, I was kind of bored that day. Nothing really happened.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Are there any particular, you mentioned how you rewatch that one sometimes. Are there any other episodes from either one of your hikes that you like find yourself going back and rewatching more often than like the rest of them?
I haven't. No, not really. If anything, the goat video. And I think that was one of my stories on a Trail Tales episode about how I hiked up on this ridge and all these goats ran after me and started licking my legs. I watched that because I just think it's funny. And people will bring that up and I'll be like, oh yeah, I haven't seen that video in a while, and I'll watch it. I used to have a TV in my gift shop where I would play my AT documentary on a loop. And so that was cool. I watched that a bunch. That was like an hour and a half. But
I don't know if I could just put on one of my videos in front of other people like that.
I know. It was a little awkward because
don't get me wrong, I understand like it fits with your shop and everything, but
it was right. It was right in the middle of like all these hiking clothes and like AT gifts and stuff, so it kind of made sense.
And obviously, a lot of people are coming into your shop to see you, and they know you from YouTube and stuff too. So,
but it's always awkward because I don't like bragging about myself. So like when someone who comes in and they don't know anything about the AT and they see the TV playing and they're like, is that you on the TV? Like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I hiked the AT and it's like just this silly little YouTube video I made. Yeah. Meanwhile, it has like, I don't know, probably over hundreds of thousands of views.
Yeah, that video's done really well.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, super cool. Tell me about the gear aspect of your shop now. I know I've seen like I watched some of your Nahamsha Gifts videos as well. I haven't gotten to all of them though. And so I know that well, I guess I don't know for sure. You're starting to sell like some actual hiking gear in your shop?
Yeah. So
can you talk about that?
After the trail, people come into my gift shop to see me, and it's not like it wasn't really a hiking gift shop. Like I opened this gift shop way before I started hiking and backpacking and did the AT. So it's just like souvenirs. Like I live in a little lake town. So I have lake t-shirts and mugs and all that stuff that tourists want. But people were coming to my shop thinking it was going to be hiking themed. So I started slowly bringing in like some AT shirts and some, I don't know, hiking stuff. And it was doing well. And so then the space next to my store kind of opened up for rent, and we took down a wall and made the gift shop bigger. And I was like, this whole new section of my store, I should make just hiking stuff.
Yeah.
And so I did that, and this was only a couple months ago, so it's still a work in progress. It must have been
after I was there last summer.
Yeah.
Almost a year ago now, so it doesn't make sense.
I think we cut down that wall in like November or December. But yeah, I'm slowly bringing in, like I just got Darn Tough in my shop.
Nice.
Gooder sunglasses, Element. And so I'm starting small with like these little cheap, like less expensive pieces of things that hikers would want.
Yeah.
And then I want to eventually grow it and like sell backpacks and tents and stuff like that, and have it like if anyone wants to come in and they're thinking about hiking the AT or backpacking, like I can get them set up because like I have a lot of knowledge. So I thought it would be cool. And I named it.
I want to come see it again.
Yeah. Tailored Trails.
Nice.
So it's kind of like I want to like
trailer.
No. So I made a whole like LLC for it or something. But like I want to have the gear and I want to tailor the gear to their hike. And so it's kind of punny, I guess.
I can't wait to go back. I really want to check it out. Just the gift shop was like so cool. Like that was such a fun experience last year, going down and meeting some of your subscribers and everything too.
Yeah.
It's such a nice spot. I've been dropping the ball on all these episodes to remind guests about the end of episode story. Did you think about it at all?
No, I didn't know you still did that.
I've been dropping the ball so hard. This is what everyone's, even Beer and Beautiful Places, who's a repeat guest. She was like, yeah, I didn't know. I thought maybe you weren't doing it anymore because you didn't mention it. So yeah. Do you need a second to think of something?
A story from a through hike?
Yeah.
I can tell the story of my first backpacking trip, which I don't think has ever, I think I vlogged it, but never put it on YouTube.
Okay, let's hear it.
And so I had already committed to the AT. I had already bought all my gear, but I had never slept outside before. And so I had my Z-Packs duplex and just like all this gear that I've never used before. Mm-hmm. And I went up and hiked Mount Moriah, which is a 4,000 footer in the Whites.
Yeah, I forgot about Mount Moriah. Damn, I haven't been up there in a while.
I like that mountain. So I hiked the 4,000. Actually, I didn't reach the summit on that first day. So I started at like noon and I hiked a couple miles up to the Imp shelter, which is on the AT.
Yeah, I remember
and
staying at Imp.
Yeah, I was so nervous because I was like, this was August, so I didn't know if like the AT bubble was going to be in the Whites. I think it probably would have been.
Yeah.
But I got to the campsite at 3 p.m. because I thought it was going to be like totally full of all these hikers, and I was so excited to like meet them and talk to them. And I get there and it's just me and the caretaker. And so I tried to set up my duplex on one of those tent platforms because that's all they have.
Yeah.
And for someone who's like never even slept in their duplex before, I'm just like, I have no idea how to do this. Like that tent's kind of tough to set up to begin with.
Yeah, let alone on a wooden platform. I hate how they have those. I get it back in the day when everyone had freestanding tents, but those are kind of outdated now, in my opinion. Those wooden tent platforms.
Yeah,
you know, at some of these sites in the Whites.
Yeah, it was tough, and like I was kind of struggling to the point where like the caretaker came over and was like, "Do you need help like with this?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I was thinking like he knew how to set up the tent because he looked like a backpacker. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "What do you want me to do?" Because like, and I was like, I don't know. I thought you knew what to do. So I was like, oh, it's fine. Just like you can go back to your tent and I'll figure it out. Mm-hmm. And I did. I got a good pitch out of it.
Impressive.
Yeah. And this was like a little after 3 in the afternoon. So then I just left the tent there. I went and hiked to the summit of Moriah just to bag that. And then I came back to my tent and I'm just like, all right, I guess I just sleep now. And at that point, I think 2 other thru hikers came in, and they'd stop by my tent and they talked to me for a little bit. And I'm like, yeah, this is my first time like sleeping outside and I'm going to do the AT next year. And he's like, oh, cool. And he was 67. And I was like, I thought it was awesome because he was in the Whites and I thought he was so cool.
That's incredible. Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he went into his tent, like the tent platform next to me. And later that night, I could hear him talk to the caretaker and be like, you know, like the AT's not for everyone. Like that, she told me she's never backpacked before. And
wait, what?
Yeah. So I could hear them talking to each other and just like the words like, oh, the AT's not for everyone. So,
oh man.
And so that was just like my first backpacking.
Why did he think it wouldn't be for you? It's your first time. Like,
I don't know. Cause maybe I just like went all in. I don't know. I didn't really hear much of the conversation.
Yeah, maybe there was more context there that you missed, but
yeah, it sounded.
I'm glad it didn't discourage you.
Yeah, it sounded like they were a little doubtful. And then that night, I mean, the trip went well. Like I slept all night, but you know how your phone kind of like gives you alerts when there's bad weather. Mm-hmm. The siren started going off for like flash flooding. Ooh. So like I'm in my duplex and there's flash flooding all around me, and I mean it didn't leak. So it went well, but that was my first backpacking trip.
First time, yeah. The old Imp shelter.
Yeah.
When I stayed there, this isn't that good of a story, but I'm running out of stories that I haven't told. I was a little bit behind, time-wise, and so you're supposed to, like you said, there's a caretaker there. I think they might have changed the rules now, but back in 2018, you had to pay like $5 or $10. I can't remember what it is to stay at like a lot of those shelters. And I like got there and like the caretaker tent was set up, like, so I knew the caretaker was around, and a little bit later in the season, but like it was still like summer. It's like September, early September. And so I was like, where's the caretaker? And usually they kind of like introduce themselves and come up to you and kind of, ask for the money and like, welcome you or whatever. And no caretaker did that. And so eventually, like, there's more and more hikers were rolling in, and we were kind of just, there was like a little bench, I feel like, in front of the shelter, like with a little view there. And at night, like, I was kind of just hanging out there with a few other people, and I was like, where is the caretaker? And then it turns out that one of the people that was like sitting right there was the caretaker, and she had been like really quiet and she hadn't said anything. She looked just miserable. And I think that maybe it was like, I don't remember why I think this, but maybe she said a little bit, and like it was like her last night or something, and she just did not give a fuck. And so she didn't collect money from anyone. She didn't say anything to anyone. Basically, she just kind of was sitting there. I feel like maybe it was the end of like a long season for her, and she was just ready to get out of there.
Just over it.
And so I was like, oh man, like that's brutal. But anyways, that's my imp story. That's the only time I've been to imp. Taylor, thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, thank you.
I appreciate and putting you on the spot there to come up with a story. I really appreciate that. Mm-hmm. Plug your channel and your store too. Where can people go find your store?
Yep. I have a store named Nahamsha Gifts in Guilford, New Hampshire, that I now have some hiking gear, and I'm sure I'll continue to expand. And then my YouTube is Taylor the Nahamsha Hiker. By the time people are watching this, I'm probably not posting videos because I'll have a newborn, but
yeah.
I'll get back into it soon.
Deserved break.
Yeah. I'm still going to hike, and I'm already thinking about taking the baby out there, and yeah. So I'll still hike.
Yeah. Thank you, Taylor. And I'm so excited for you and Chet. So excited. And I know you'll be busy, but hopefully we can cross paths again sometime before the end of the year. We'll see.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for you guys. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I just really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's going to do it, everybody. If you enjoyed this episode and you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, the Trail Tales YouTube channel, that is, please do so. Hit that subscribe button. Taylor's watching on YouTube.
Just do it.
You should be watching too. And if you're not watching, I get it. It's a podcast. You want to listen. I totally get that too. 5-star reviews. You know the thing. 5-star reviews help out the show. And most importantly, just thank you all so much. I can't believe I'm back in Damascus for the first time since my thru hike in 2018. 6 years. And I've been doing this show, right from the time I got off the AT. Like, it's absolutely insane, and I appreciate all of you so much. And we'll see you in the next episode.